So I guess Marvel's whole idea that comic book sales go up when a movie's released is kind of true because with Iron Man 3 coming out, I decided to, really start reading Iron Man because besides the films, starring Robert Downey Jr., I've only read Extremis and I thought it was unbelievably amazing. I think it's easily the best Iron Man story I've experienced thus far, including the films. I've read the first arc of Karen Gillan's run, which was really, really bad, which is a shame because I loved Karen Gillan's journey into mystery. He was one of my favorite writers, but now I have serious reservations about him. And I also bought the first trade of Matt Fraction's Iron Man run called The Five Nightmares. And Matt Fraction's run on Iron Man has received a lot of praise. Browncoat Eric says it's pretty damn good. A lot of the other people I've talked to say it's a really good follow-up to what Warren Ellis did with Extremis, and that his run is overall pretty damn good. So I bought the first trade. It collects the first 7 issues of Matt Fraction's run. It's called The Five Nightmares, obviously, as you can see from the title of the video and the fact that I just mentioned it earlier. And a lot of people say that this is a perfect jumping on point for Iron Man. I kind of disagree with that because this takes place directly after Civil War. I'm not sure if it takes place during or after Secret Invasion, but I know this takes place immediately after Civil War. Tony Stark is the director of S.H.I.E.L.D. Right now. Everyone hates Tony because he sided with the Pro-Registration Act in Civil War. A lot of people hate and resent him. He's the director of S.H.I.E.L.D. He's just gotten the Extremis suit. And if you don't know your Marvel history before reading this, at least to a substantial degree, you're not going to understand why everyone hates Tony, why is he the director of S.H.I.E.L.D., what is Extremis and stuff. So I really don't agree with this being a great or even a good jumping on point for Iron Man because you still need to have a lot of knowledge about the Marvel universe before reading this. As for the story itself, I thought overall it was pretty damn good. The basic story, or the basic theme of the story, is the 5 nightmares of Tony Stark. And he meets an adversary, the son of Obadiah Stane, one of his arch enemies, Ezekiel Stane, and this guy represents everything Tony is afraid of. He's basically figured out how the Iron Man technology works. He's adapted it to his own needs. He's found a way to basically make it distributable to a wide range of people. He's sort of made it like cell phones where he's just constantly upgrading it, and every sort of upgrade is small and arbitrary, and if you break it, you can just get another one. And this guy basically represents all of Tony Stark's fears. He is absolutely ruthless, he is cunning, he's smart, almost as smart as Tony, and his desire for revenge against Tony, because Tony in this universe killed Obadiah Stane, and Ezekiel wants revenge for him. So you could kind of say that his motivation is a bit generic, but the parallels tongue-tied. The parallels Matt Fraction draws between Tony Stark and Ezekiel are so fascinating. This guy is Tony Stark's worst nightmare given form, and Tony kind of doesn't know how to deal with them because he's having a lot of other problems in the story arc as well. The superhero community still despises him for what he did in Civil War. He's having a rough time managing his personal life, his duty as the leader of Stark Industries, and his job as director of S.H.I.E.L.D. Pepper gets hurt in this story arc, and he has to find a way to keep her alive, which results in her getting an arc reactor like he got in the beginning of his career as Iron Man. He has to deal with all of that stuff too. And this story arc has a fantastic Tony Stark, in my opinion. On the outside, he's kind of like the Robert Downey Jr. version, where he's kind of a smartass, and he's kind of like this charming asshole that you just can't help but love. But on the inside, he's a really serious guy. He actually thinks about a lot of the world's problems. He considers himself responsible for a lot of them because of his past as an arms dealer. And I think this comic book does something that the movies simply can't. It's able to present Tony kind of like this witty, charming asshole who like dates a lot of supermodels and stuff, who isn't really serious, but through his inner monologues and his thought balloons, you can see that there's a lot more to him and that he isn't just a one-dimensional character. He's a fully fleshed out person, and that's something the films simply haven't been able to do properly, and I think that's a big advantage is the comics have over the films. Tony, like I said, his characterization in this story arc is very believable. He's a more jaded Tony Stark. A lot of that playboyness of him is sort of gone because he has all of these responsibilities and he's taking them pretty damn seriously. The dialogue between the characters is actually pretty damn funny. Ezekiel Stane is this. He's kind of he has a certain charm of his own in that weird mass murderer psychopath kind of way. He has a lot of funny dialogue. Tony's banter with Pepper Potts in this story is really, really funny and it's really clever. And I think that Pepper and Tony shouldn't be together because when the films did it, it sort of lost its luster. You know, they're just a couple. They don't have that witty, flirtatious banter they used to have like they do in this story arc. And it's really cool to see them, you know, obviously they're in love for each other, but they're having all this flirty dialogue. They're, you know, having all this funny dialogue with each other, and it's really a whole lot of fun to read. And that's something I felt that the movies lost. And I think that this is the way their relationship should be. They should obviously be in love. They should obviously be soulmates and stuff. But I don't think they should really be in a relationship because the way Matt Fraction does it here, he finds a perfect balance between them being in love without taking away all the awesome banter that he would have to get rid of if they were in a real relationship, and I thought that was pretty damn cool of him. The action in this story is pretty fast. It's pretty dynamic. You're going to see a lot of explosions and stuff. You will see plenty of Iron Man kicking some ass, and in the end fight, he doesn't even use his armor. It's just a one-on-one, mano-a-mano fight between him and Ezekiel. No superpowers, no Iron Man armor, just the two of those guys going at it while at the same time saying what they believe in. It's basically, imagine the scene in Dark Knight, the interrogation scene between Batman and Joker, if there was a fist fight during it. While they're fighting each other, you know, in fisticuffs, they're basically saying what they believe, and that sort of represents their conflicting ideologies and their conflicting motivations and views of the world. And I thought that was pretty damn fascinating. If there are any problems with this story arc is that while the art, for the most part, is pretty damn amazing and it perfectly fits in with Iron Man, some of the facial expressions can be really, really ugly. Characters are just going to look completely different from panel to panel sometimes, and that's a sort of a problem that persists throughout the entire storyline. I thought this was a bit overwritten. Like, there are some parts in this storyline that were just so pointless and so overwritten. They should have either been cut down they should have really been cut down, or they should have been cut out of the issues entirely because they don't really serve the story at all. They don't really push the plot forward. Maybe they serve as setup later on, and I'm just being an idiot, and this whole argument or complaint of mine is going to be rendered invalid later. But yeah, there were a lot of pieces of dialogue, a lot of scenes that should have been cut down, and the book does feel really, really overwritten at points. I found myself skipping some parts because I just couldn't get through it. But besides some of those problems, I thought this story arc is a great beginning to Matt Fraction's run. I'm totally going to get the next trade because I hear it involves Norman Osborn and Hammer going after Tony because his brain is like a computer and he has all of the secret identities of the superheroes from the Superhero Registration Act. That sounds really, really damn cool, and I can't wait to read that. If it's half as good as this, I'm in for a treat. So overall, Iron Man: The Five Nightmares, I would give it a about 8.5 or 9 out of 10. I think besides some of those small problems like it not really being a great jumping on point and some of the art being a little iffy and the villain's motivation being a bit generic, this was a pretty damn good Iron Man story. It's a perfect start to what I hope is a great run. And if you've never read Iron Man, I will still tell you check this out because it's an okay introduction to the character. It's not the fantastic jumping on point everyone says it is, but still, it gets the job done and introduces you to the comic book version of Tony Stark, his relationships with the other characters, how the other characters are in the comic books, and the current state of the Marvel Universe, and it will do its job of getting you interested because I'm totally going to go check out some of the other comic books from this time so I can fully grasp the background of what's going on in this story. But yeah, I'm just babbling on and on. So yeah, Iron Man: The Five Nightmares, 8.5 or 9 out of 10. That's the score I give it. I highly recommend you check this one out. It's pretty damn good.